Paul's next move in the letter is to say that these Corinthians are taking one another to court, which would have been normal in Vegas, but wasn't normal for Paul. Let's listen to it. When any of you has a grievance against another, do you dare to take it to court before the unrighteous instead of taking it before the saints? Don't you know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world is to be judged by you, are you incompetent to try trivial cases? Don't you know that we are to judge angels? I mean, this is wild, good stuff. To say nothing of ordinary matters. If you have ordinary cases, then, do you appoint as judges those who have no standing in the church? So, if issue one was this guy having relations with his father's wife, and what that is doing to the nature of the church, issue two then becomes, why would you take each other to court when you have all the equipment you need to arbitrate and judge these matters? In Paul's sense of the church, the Holy Spirit, the kind of preparations that come with Christian formation, prepare a person with wisdom to adjudicate these matters. And he presents it in the terms of brothers and sisters. So I say this to your shame. Can it be that there is no one person wise enough to decide between brothers and sisters? Instead, brothers and sisters go to court against one another, and this before unbelievers. Paul pictures a family table as the location in which disputes get resolved. These people picture, if my arborvitae, if it seems like your arborvitae has come onto my property, I'm taking you to court. Paul wants the arborvitae feud to be settled. If it's between two Christian folks, he wants it to be settled among the believers. He wants brothers and sisters to realize we can take care of these conflicts, these day-to-day, everyday conflicts. We don't need to go and air our dirty laundry in front of Roman magistrates. Now, how's Paul's career regarding Roman magistrates? Well, a few of them have thrown him in prison, right? Paul's relationship with the state is a very interesting thing. In Romans 13, he'll say they were put there by God. But in his own experience, he was put in jail by them a handful of times. So as he speaks of Roman magistrates, he has biographical history with them. He also has a theology about the readiness to be wise that would include, you people have been blessed with the Holy Spirit. You're wise enough to figure out if the arborvitae is on one side of the line or the other and what to do about it. So Paul is, in a way, he's reproving them, correcting them. But on the other hand, he's crediting them and saying, you don't know how much equipment you have. You should really try your equipment out. You can do this. Which is a strange thing to hear in Corinth, because he's awfully critical in many places. Here he's saying, you don't even use the things you've got. Then he gets into a Jesus moment. In 6:1-8, Paul says, in fact, to have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. Why not rather be wronged? Why not rather be defrauded? But you yourselves wrong and defraud, and you do it to brothers and sisters at that. Jesus said, if somebody slaps you on your right cheek, turn and offer your left. A lot of people have seen in this little passage, the last part of 16:1-8, an allusion to, or at least a simpatico presentation of taking on the harm rather than inflicting harm. And they see in this almost a kind of the bud of a nonviolence, or the bud of a non-resistance that looks Jesus-y to them. What I want to notice here that you wouldn't ever get from the page or from comparisons with Jesus is that in the ancient world, as in our world, the rich had better lawyers, right? Rich people can afford a better lawyer than a poor person. And in the church in Corinth, we know from what we hear later and what we kind of see from when Paul writes to Rome and talks about people he's with in Corinth, we know they had poor and rich and everything in between. So in the church listening to his letter, there are people of great means and there are people of very little means, all the way down to household slaves. And in that setting, he is saying, don't go to court with one another, solve it among yourselves. Who does that help in the socioeconomic hierarchy? Well, it helps the people who can't afford a lawyer.